I gotta go hit play.
Should I start it over?
You can.
Have you ever done anything heroic?
Yes. One time I saved this little girl from drowning in the creek. She jumped in and she didn't know how to swim. Pulled out. It feels like
Yeah.
This girl's across the road. Every time you see one in the middle of the road, instead of letting it get run over by a car or run, I've been a hero many times.
Like,
one time I saved a dog. Well, actually, I feel as though whenever I go out on the football field, I feel as though I put a cape on and I turn into Superman. 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 He is the hero of all heroes. I put my cape on. And I just turned into a different person.
Standards of heroism is doing something for somebody else that is great. And when I think off the top of my head, something heroic, I have saved several children from drowning as a lifeguard.
I inspired little kids to dance everywhere around the world.
My dog from it. He couldn't walk in it, so I picked him up.
thank you.
I saved an ant from my shower once. He was gonna drown.
One time I was at the beach and somebody was drowning, and I thought about going in there, but I can't swim. But it would have been pretty heroic. Alrighty.
Everybody working on right? So it was me, my bro Tyrell, my boy Zaza. So say this is the so say like this is the sidewalk. Me and Tyrell was talking, and then so then that's when we was attempting to step on the sidewalk. And right there, right at their faces. So then I pulled Tyrell back, and so it was like, if I would have pulled him back, he'd have died.
One time there was a fire on like on the ceiling, and I killed it for her.
So JC was getting pretty so I came up. Jason was getting beat up, Next question.
Anyone ever been heroic to you?
My boy I was getting jumped. I was getting beat up by like 10 people.
Yesterday, Mr. Bagwell gave me $1 for candy.
I see the opponent next to me. You're trying to harm me. You understand? So, every single play, the players around me are saving me, protecting me. They are my heroes.
My mom.
My dad.
Nah.
Not really.
Have you ever, looking back on it, watching that no, I haven't.
No.
I don't remember that.
6 years ago, I was going down to lunch, and on my way, a youngster was with a girl from our school, but he did not look familiar. So I asked him a couple questions to figure out if he was supposed to be here, because he should know the answers of the questions that I was asking him. And when he figured out that I had figured out he wasn't supposed to be here, he took off running from the cafeteria hallway up through the locker rooms and the small gymnasium. And when he got up to the top, he could either went left or right. If he went left, he could have probably made it out of the school without me catching him, because I'm not the fastest runner in the world, and he was a young buck at the time. Fortunate for me, he turned right. I was telling him the whole entire time that he better hope I don't catch him, because if he does, he's going to be in in bad shape when I do. So anyhow, by the time I rounded the corner, I saw that Officer McCoy, our SRO officer at the time, was way up ahead of me near the entrance to the cafeteria. This guy had a jacket on, he had a book bag on, so I didn't know what his intentions were, but he was running away from me towards the cafeteria full of students. I hollered ahead to Officer McCoy that there was an intruder approaching him. He stood his ground in the middle of the hallway, told him to stop. The kid refused to stop and tried to run Officer McCoy over. Officer McCoy grabbed a hold of him, at which time I stood back instead of getting involved. The youngster actually squirmed out of his jacket, leaving Officer McCoy holding the jacket, but not the youngster. At which time I jumped around Officer McCoy and grabbed the hold of the kid and threw him on the ground and jumped on top of him and had him around his throat and subdued him forcefully. Officer McCoy then took over, handcuffed him, pulled him into the small gym or the weight room. I went, ate my lunch, and Officer McCoy and Mr. Campbell, who was the principal at the time, pulled him into that room, and I guess the excitement of it all and being in a little pain from being forcibly subdued, he had a bowel movement in his pants. And, don't laugh. And also McCoy had to transport him to the police station in his cruiser with the kid and his message shorts. So it was an unpleasant ride for him on the way over there. And he was later arrested for trespassing, whatever. He was actually here to see one of his girlfriend. He was from, I think, Lancaster, but he was here to see one of our students, which happened to be his girlfriend.
So if you remember from the whole video, there are 3 questions I asked. The first one being, have you ever done anything heroic? Most people was able to answer that. There was either a no or a story that they told. So the second question, has anyone ever done anything heroic for you? Most people answered that their family and close friends did it, and it wasn't any situation, it was just the person in general. For number 3, it was, have you ever witnessed anything? And there was mostly no's. There was a couple of stories, but nothing out of the ordinary. So what does that mean? Why do we only remember the ones that we have done? I think most people exaggerated some of their stories, like whether it was getting beat up in the park or not. And so I think the media really influences whether or not people are going to decide to be a hero. Everyone wants their 15 minutes of fame, so they're going to exaggerate something or probably end up doing something to help others because of their own personal health. So does that mean that there's more heroism in media today because of media? USA Today said that 20% of Americans who took a survey are considered heroes. Doesn't mean like killing a spider, I mean like actually saving someone. I watched an episode of Dateline NBC a while back, and they said that most people who are heroes are Hispanic and African American. They said that it's probably because they have more opportunity, which I'd have to look more into. That's what they said. So for the next time, I'll look into that. Thank you.